If you're lost in suffering, you will be in a moment where you just don't know where to look. Everywhere you look, there is suffering. There is fear, anxiety, dread, doubt. You will feel like there is nowhere to run. And when we're lost in these moments, it is very easy to do something in order to get rid of the suffering. It's what we naturally want to do. But what happens when we do something physically, whether that's read a book, listen to a teacher, take some, I don't know why you would, but take some psychedelics or do something physical, right? Literally, that means either through thought or physical action. We perpetuate the suffering. So whenever there is suffering, whenever in those moments, and we do something to get rid of the suffering, even if it's a spiritual thing. It could be, like I said, listening to teachers, reading books, doing practices, doing meditations. If we do something to get rid of it, we will perpetuate it. Why? Because the suffering is made of resistance. And if something is resisted, by definition, that resistance is what the suffering is. So you're actually just continuing to suffer via an activity rather than just sitting in the suffering. So here's the very simple thing that you're going to do in those moments where you're lost in your suffering. The first thing to understand is what people usually do is they try to remember knowledge. They try to remember something. They try to remember what did my spiritual teacher say? What did this person do? How do I do this? How do I do this? What's the thing we're looking to try and do to get rid of the suffering? Just plain and simple, you can't get rid of the suffering. The suffering, you can't just get rid of it. So the question is, well, how do we be with it without wanting to get rid of it? Very smart question. Well, this is the answer to that. And this is going to drastically change your experience. But you have to understand what I'm saying. If you don't understand what I'm saying, you will do exactly what I'm saying that people do, which is when the suffering takes place, use thought, feeling, perception to try and get rid of the suffering. So they try to use knowledge to remember what they can do about it. Now, what's going to happen now after watching this video is that you're going to remember this video. And in this video, I'm going to tell you the first thing is to notice that you were looking to remember something to get rid of the suffering. That's the first thing. The second thing is you're going to realize, look, no wonder my suffering has continued, because every time I have experienced suffering, I perpetuated the suffering by doing things to get rid of the suffering. Interesting. No wonder I'm here today, still suffering after all of this time, because everything I've ever done has been for the sole purpose of getting rid of it. Of course I'm going to be suffering, right? That's the first epiphany you're going to have, right? You're going to have that now, then you're going to have it again in this moment. It's going to happen spontaneously. So you notice the urge to remember, what was that video that said about the suffering again? Look, I did the thing. I tried to remember something as a vehicle to help me somehow remove my suffering. That's the first thing you're going to realize. The next thing you're going to do is when you're in that moment of suffering, you're now going to enter what I call the adventurer mode. You're going to go into this curious, playful, passionately interested mode of experience, which is just curious about what's actually taking place. Now that you're in this curious mode, which you're already in at this stage, by definition of even remembering this conversation, I want you to now do the one thing that you have never done before. The one thing that you have avoided doing. You're going to give yourself the freedom to suffer. It's the simplest thing ever. Instead of getting rid of the suffering, instead of being like, I shouldn't be suffering, this isn't validated, or I shouldn't be feeling this, it's too uncomfortable to bear, so I'm going to do something to get rid of it. You're going to do the one thing you have avoided doing all this time. You're going to stop trying to get rid of it. And in fact, you're going to actually just suffer. You're just going to suffer. The suffering is taking place. You're going to say, thank you so much for being here. Let's do this. let's do this thing. And you're going to go suffer with the suffering. You're going to take yourself to the suffering. You're going to cradle it, and you're going to say, let's suffer together. Okay, you don't have to do that. But just suffer with it. Go suffer with the suffering, right? The one thing you have never wanted to do is do that. You've always wanted to run away from it. So now you're going to take it by the hand, and you're going to suffer with the suffering. In this moment, when you're giving yourself the freedom to suffer, you're going to change the relationship that you have with the suffering. By definition, you're now relating to the suffering. You're now allowing the suffering to be there, and you're actually encouraging the suffering to stay. You're saying, actually, don't go anywhere. I don't want to get rid of you. I actually don't mind you being there. In fact, you're not particularly my favorite person. You haven't particularly been my favorite in the past, but you know what? I'm going to sit there and get to know you. I'm going to suffer with you. And you just suffer with the suffering. You just do what's being already done. And what you'll notice is that when you do this, suffering cannot stand the light of acceptance. So the minute you give yourself the freedom to suffer is the minute the suffering loses the taste of suffering. This is a beautiful thing to realize, because now at this stage, you've noticed the suffering wasn't the feeling or the emotion that you had. The feeling or the emotion you had nothing to do with the suffering. That was just a feeling, a sensation in your body. You notice the suffering was just the resistance to the feeling or the sensation in your body. So it's not going to get rid of the feeling or the sensation, because you don't need to get rid of that. That's not where the suffering is. The suffering is your resistance to the feeling or the emotion. So instead of now trying to get rid of the resistance, you're just going to completely see, wow, isn't this fascinating? All this time, I thought I needed to get rid of something. But now I don't need to get rid of it. I'm just going to give myself the freedom to suffer. And all of a sudden, if you understand what I'm saying, if you don't do this. If you think I'm speaking a load of nonsense, then just continue as nonsense and just move on. Don't listen to me. But there will be some people who understand what I'm saying, and this will be the most life-changing thing that you will ever experience. Absolutely, hands down. And when you give yourself this freedom to suffer, the suffering cannot stand that heat, and it evaporates. It doesn't get rid of the emotion. You don't. If you sit there after going, oh, Saja said to get rid of it, to do something about myself, give myself freedom to suffer, but my emotion is still there. What's going on? This isn't a technique. This isn't a thing to get rid of something. This is just you finally continuing to do what you're already doing anyway. Isn't that actually kind of crazy to think about? All I've done is said, when you're suffering, just continue suffering. That's all I've said. But some people understand the sentiment of this, and it will be the most life-changing thing that you will ever experience. Others won't. It won't make sense, and that's totally fine. This is for those certain people. So in those moments, when you give yourself the freedom to suffer, the suffering is going to vanish. The next thing to see, if somehow this wasn't enough, when you look into the experience of the suffering, you will never find an actual thing that you suffer from. This is the craziest thing. The reason that we suffer is because we've never looked at the thing that we're suffering from. So at this stage, if we've given ourselves the freedom to suffer, it is also of benefit to investigate and understand, what was I thinking? What was the illusion that was taking place? Like, what did I believe I was suffering from? And what you'll find is that the place that you thought you were suffering, usually, in fact, 100% of the time, it's some form of sensation that we're experiencing. There's no suffering there. It just doesn't exist. There's no suffering there. Like, if you look at it, where is it? Is it in your chest, your nipples, your bloody head? Where is it? Where's the suffering? You'll notice I can't find it. The thing I thought I was suffering from was never there. Isn't that a profound realization to have? Could you imagine now the next time that you feel suffering, you'll remember this, and it will be obvious to you, wow, all of this time, this is what I was doing. I was getting scared over nothing. I was resisting nothing. I was just resisting for the sake of it, because I thought something was there. It isn't actually there. So this realization is so simple. It just takes a moment of seeing. That's it. And you'll remember this when you come to the next experience of suffering that you have. It's a very simple thing. It's not even a thing. It's not even something you do. It's just something you continue to do. I have a free community. The link is in my description. If you'd like to be there, I'd love to have you there. Have an amazing day, guys. Take care.